Welcome to my 5th video. Today I will show you the exact location of Atlantis. All the present theories try to locate Atlantis on the little ball. Antarctica is Atlantis, it's in the Atlantic Ocean, or the latest theory, it is in Spain, and so on. They try to portray it as a big city. But when you put Atlantis on the bigger Earth, it all becomes so simple and obvious. For me, it's yet another puzzle piece falling on its place. For the people who think, what the hell is he talking about, the bigger Earth? You have to watch my previous videos. Links are above. There I state we are living on a bigger Earth. So let's take a look at Atlantis. The description of Plato. How could we recreate that image? Well, you would have a crater in a crater in a crater. But hey, where did I hear that story before? Exactly. Remember in my previous video I made a 3D object in which I simulated light. That gave the reflection of Saturn. So let's go back to Saturn on the moon map called Linné. Let's fill the dark shadows with water. 1 ring, 2, 3. Let's compare that with Atlantis. 3 rings of water, 3 rings of water. So, the conclusion is Saturn is Atlantis. But now a little bell starts ringing. I'm starting to realize why all the occult societies are obsessed with Saturn. Now, the rest of the story is getting very simple. Let's go back to the moon map. You have 2 important players here. You have moon crater Linné with the star name Saturn and the earth name Atlantis. And you have crater Sulpicius Gallus M, star name Sirius, our biosphere Earth. Thirdly, you have a big plain called Mare Serenitatis, calm sea. I guess it wasn't that calm. So, watch the location of Atlantis and of biosphere Earth. Atlantis is in the middle of the sea. Biosphere Earth is on the shores of a ridge. Now let's presume there is a tsunami on the bigger Earth, and the whole crater of Atlantis was flooded. That would have been an enormous disaster with earthquakes, and their whole biosphere would have been swallowed by the water. Part of the population could escape by boat and managed to save their family and some livestock. Was it Noah or Gilgamesh? 1 boat, several boats, we don't know, but part of the Atlanteans managed to escape. So Noah started sailing and managed to reach the shore. Here you see a simulation on the moon map. It must have been an enormous trip. I estimate it to be 2 million kilometers. Finally, land. Here you see an aerial view of their landing place, our crater. Finally, they landed their boat on Mount Ararat, a mountain near crater Earth. Once the water returned to a lower level, the Atlanteans and their family got out of their boat. From there they started walking. That would have been 40,000 kilometers. With a family and livestock, that could have taken 40 years. 40 years in the desert? Where did we hear that story before? Look at the position of Crater Earth. It is very close to the shore. On the side of Crater Earth, you see an opening that is lower than the rest. Once in a while, when water on the bigger planet is rising, water could leak into our crater. Maybe at a certain moment in time, a huge piece of ice slipped into the crater and caused an enormous destruction, the so-called ice meteorite. That meteorite was responsible for the rising of sea levels, and I think it sealed off the gateway to the bigger Earth. Earlier, people could enter our crater on foot. Now they need a boat. Slowly, this information of the gateway got lost, to the point where we are now. And now, at the present time, how are you going to explain water levels rising, if you don't want to tell the people about the bigger Earth? Well, you invent climate change, and you tell people the ice of Antarctica is melting, because of fossil fuels. No, I think it's the water of Mare Serenitatis that is leaking into our crater. So, what's next? The Atlanteans enter the Promised Land and discover the Garden of Eden. It must have been a beautiful world. There must have been hominid races in the biosphere. I think that because of their higher technology, they must have been seen as the gods. Maybe some of the gods had difficulty breathing because of the different mixture of oxygen and needed some kind of respirator. Were they seen as bird gods because of that apparatus? Another question would be, were there giants? Of course, this is blasphemy for mainstream science. Was Homo sapiens around? I don't know. I'll make another improvisation here. It's purely speculative. Don't take it for granted. Here I go. The gods of Atlantis forbid their people to have sex with the hominids. But a few fallen angels disobeyed, and the crossbreed of Atlanteans and hominids was born, Homo sapiens. Because of that, Adam and Eve were cast out of paradise, the Garden of Eden. They had to leave Crater Earth. So I would guess Adam was an Atlantean and Eve a hominid. So, if you are looking for the missing link in the evolutionary story, you won't find it. Bye bye, Darwin. This is blasphemy. So the gods started rebuilding their world and built the megalithic structures. Maybe with some advanced technology, because we still don't understand how they cut those gigantic stones. This technology might have been put in a special protected box. Later, when the gods died out, or they left again, there was a fight over the left-behind technology of the gods, with the whole story about the Ark of the Covenant. This story, of course, is so absurd and out of the blue that the Freemasons decided to build a replica. Look at the menorah in front of the Ark. Another reminder of the rings of Atlantis. The Atlanteans probably had some advanced knowledge. I suspect they had explored and mapped out the complete bigger Earth. I deduce that from the several star maps that were built in our crater, like the Golan Heights, Stonehenge, the pyramids, and so many more. Now I will show you some knowledge hidden in the monuments. Okay, let's zoom in on Stonehenge, what is left of it. Okay, let's move to the right, and there you see in the soil, I don't know if anyone has seen this before, you can see clearly the sign of Orion. Move to the right, you see a bull's head, Taurus. Move to the right, and there you see the 7 stars of Pleiades. Let's zoom out, move to the left, and then there you see Saturn, aka Atlantis. Well, if you wonder why those trees are still standing there, I think underneath you would find the rings of Atlantis. So, let's summarize. If you go from right to left, you have first the Pleiades, next you have Taurus, and then you have Orion. So, what would Stonehenge be then? Let's take the star map. On the right you see Pleiades, next Taurus, Orion, so on the left you have Sirius. That means that Stonehenge is Sirius. Crater Earth. So if that is true, let's compare Stonehenge with Sulpicius Gallus M and with a photograph of Sirius. Sadly, there is not much left of Stonehenge, but luckily there's still an old drawing. Let's take a look at it. Well, I would say that's bingo. Let's compare. Here you see the circle in the center, the photograph, the stones and Stonehenge. Then you see the 2 notches on the photograph of Sirius and the 2 circles on Stonehenge. And now the most important, the gateway on Sulpicius Gallus M, photograph of Sirius, and here on Stonehenge you see the gateway. This is the information our ancestors have put into the monuments. Now you understand why they are destroying these buildings. Exactly on the spot of the gateway they have built a road. Okay, let's have another example of the star map. I found a very strange coincidence when I compared Mars with Silbury Hill. Okay, let's zoom in. Watch the exact same proportion. Let's flip it. One is a crater, the other is a mountain. And look at the black snake-like line at the bottom of the building. Well, that looks like the same to me. And again, the same tactics. Let's put a road on the monument. I think our ancestors have been building miniatures of certain places of the bigger Earth. Okay, let's go to Egypt now, to the pyramids. Everybody probably knows the link between the 3 Orion stars and the pyramids. But did you know that people think that the Sphinx might not be a lion, but a dog? Anubis? Okay, let's look at the star constellations. You have Orion, and next to it you have Canis Major, the big dog. So if you look at the star constellation, you see that Sirius is at the chest of the dog. Now let's assume that the Sphinx is a dog, then there must be something on the chest of the Sphinx. Here you see there is an opening on the head of the Sphinx. And supposedly a guy named George A. Reisner discovered empty rooms in the Sphinx. Well, that wouldn't surprise me. And it wouldn't surprise me either if they were hiding this from us. Okay, that's about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Conclusion: Atlantis is Saturn. And that is the reason all the occult science has a connection with Saturn. I would like to end with the words of thought from the Emerald Tablet. See you next time. So, you want the truth about Antarctica? Fasten your seatbelts, here it comes. Let's zoom in on the moon. The moon is the reflection of Earth. Not the little ball you have been told, but a gigantic Earth. And in one of these craters we live. The crater Sulpicius Gallus M. Probably you won't believe a word I say, but I will prove it to you within the next minute. Watch this. Take a freeze frame of the crater. Darken the image. Now let's make a 3D map. Watch the differences in height. Next, we take the official Antarctica map. Flip horizontally, rotate a bit, skew it a bit, put it on top of the 3D map. Well, for me that's a match. But for you unbelievers, let's watch it in detail. Now a lot of people won't believe this. But what are the chances that I take a random crater of the moon, make a 3D map of it that matches the map of Antarctica perfectly? The chances are zero, except when you know what you are doing. If you want to know how I got there, I explained it in my previous videos. To be honest, this insight was a complete surprise for me too, because I thought there was no Antarctica. So both theories are true. You have the ice wall of the flat Earth, within the middle the North Pole, and you have the continent Antarctica, only it is much bigger and it is not surrounded by water. There is probably no South Pole, as we are not on a little ball. Now I will look for the passage to get out of the crater. Someone who saw my video gave a reply saying that the symbol of Earth in the series Stargate was this. you can see the resemblance with Sulpicius Gallus M. Now I will give you some information about the Pillars of Hercules, because I think that is the clue to get out of the crater. For this I will take Wikipedia. According to Plato's account, the lost realm of Atlantis was situated beyond the Pillars of Hercules, in effect placing it in the realm of the unknown. Renaissance tradition says the pillars bore the warning nec plus ultra, also non plus ultra, nothing further beyond, serving as a warning to sailors and navigators to go no further. So when the psychopaths tell you to go no further, you can be damn sure there is something beyond. So where are the Pillars of Hercules? So they tell us the Pillars of Hercules are situated in Spain and Morocco. Let's investigate that. Well, they seem to have the right angle in Morocco. In Spain, some people know it too. The Pillars of Hercules remind me of the favorite subject of the Freemasons, the Pillars of Jachin and Boaz. So, you destroy the pillars, the symbolic destruction of the gate. Sadly enough for them, that was exactly the event that got me searching for the truth. Later on, the Spanish changed their symbols into plus ultra. There is more. Columbus discovered the New World. I think the New World was not about the Americas. It wouldn't surprise me that Columbus discovered the passage out of the crater. Now, why am I saying this? Because when you look on the Antarctica map, you have a place called the Hercules Inlet. When you put that on the new map I made, you see the gateway of the two pillars. When you flip the map, you can clearly see the two pillars and the gateway. Another way to get out would simply be walking all the way out of Antarctica into the New World. Maybe the New World Order is not the New World Order, but the New World Order, the small elite that knows there is a new world beyond. The same people that made the Antarctica map. They know. So, in World War II, with the improvements of air flight, the Americans must have seen the bigger Antarctica. Or the Germans, British, Russians, but nobody says a word. Why? That's because there are no Germans, British or American. They are all servants of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire that slowly morphed into the Holy Roman Empire and the Vatican. Top of the military are the Templars. The Templars' cross is everywhere. In England, Germany, the Vatican, Russia, and so on. All the elites are members of the Templars. And in the meanwhile, during World War II, they are hiding behind their neutrality in their hiding place Switzerland, headquarters of the Templars, with their Templar treasure and looting the whole of Europe with their favorite criminals, the Nazis. After the war, the German people are slaughtered, and the real criminals flee to the US and the USSR, where they work on their new global deception, the fake space program. To the US, they sent one of their top criminals, Werner von Braun. There, he creates NASA, responsible for the fake solar system and the fake moon landings. Now I will end with this image. The eagle of the Roman Empire lands on biosphere Earth, crater on the bigger Earth, and covers it with the acacia, symbol of the Freemasons. In the back, you see the little ball Earth, the fake replacement of the real Earth. You also see the number 11, the two pillars. They are manipulating our subconscious. There is a word for this whole story, and sooner or later, these people will get what they deserve. Thanks for watching. In this video, I will present you the holy grail of the Flat Earth movement. And no, it's not the United Nations map. One of the viewers of my videos was intrigued by the plus ultra explanation in my previous video. He mentioned the existence of a secret society called the Plus Ultra Society. So I examined this society with some surprising results. Plus Ultra is a secret society comprised of the greatest minds throughout history that created Tomorrowland. Their motto is Cras est noster, which means tomorrow is ours in Latin. It was founded in 1889 by Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison, Jules Verne and Gustave Eiffel. It went on to include other members such as Mark Twain, Ray Bradbury and Walt Disney. So, they created Tomorrowland. That reminded me of the music festival in Belgium. More about that later. So I looked at some photos of that society, and the first photo that struck me was this photo. Ray Bradbury, in the middle, is working with some colleagues on a map. Look at the form of the circle. It reminded me immediately of Sulpicius Gallus M. Look closely at the form of the water. Now, let's look again at the structure of the landscape. Let's fill it with water and put the buildings on. This photo was taken in the 50s. We're now 60 years later. I think we are looking at the plans of the new world. They are colonizing the bigger Earth. Now you know why every country on the planet is in financial debt. They are using our money to build a world of their own. So Ray Bradbury, science fiction author, was a good friend of Walt Disney. So when I had seen this photo, I thought, let's examine Disneyland from the air, and bingo! I immediately saw Sulpicius Gallus M. Let's put the Antarctica map on it. On the Japanese Disneyland, I was looking for the Tomorrowland Festival in Belgium Boom and I saw the same map. Same map in Tomorrowland, Brazil. So I think the same people are behind this Tomorrowland Festival and Disneyland. I always found it very strange how some nobodies from Belgium suddenly make this gigantic festival and export this abroad. That's very strange. Who is paying all this? This festival is clearly created to promote chemical drugs and bring people in a state of hypnosis, just like Disneyland.
Friends from over 75 countries traveled to Belgium. Thank you for being part of this amazing fairy tale. You are by far the best crowd in the universe.
Let's return to the map of Disneyland America. What immediately struck me was the Tom Sawyer Island, but sadly enough, it only shows North and South America. Now, first, let's look at some Disney attractions. Here you have the Matterhorn, and here a submarine base. That reminded me of some stories of Jules Verne, Journey to the Center of the Earth, and the story of Captain Nemo and his submarine, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It also reminded me of the German Nazi submarine base on Antarctica. Let's compare the Antarctica map with the Disney map. Looks identical. True after all? Then there must be a passage around to enter the base. So Disney is showing us the real Earth map. So let's go back to the Tom Sawyer Island. I searched and found the first map of Tom Sawyer Island. And it looked kind of strange, and I thought, this is a fantasy map. But last week I looked again, and suddenly I saw a different map. Let's look in detail. So, the whole world map is shown here. But why are the Americas on their head? Why is everything connected to each other? Australia fitted on the tree. What a coincidence. But what is the centerpiece? I don't get it. Well, finally I thought, let's look for this form on Sulpicius. And whoa, it fits. So you take our existing world map, you cut off the Americas, flip it horizontally and put it on its head under Asia. But you have to skew because you have to hold account with perspective. That is why Africa looks so small. It is probably the lowest point of our biosphere. But what is this centerpiece? The only thing I can think of is that this part of Earth has been flooded, and we are looking at a 50-million-year-old map. For the moment, I have no other explanation. The most similar map I could find was this one of Martin Waldseemüller, 1507. So now I would like to thank Uncle Walt for this map. Oops, am I seeing someone else here? This is a building of the Disney Studios. Those dwarves, that's us. We are holding up the pyramid. We are fed of the junk food, poisonous water, chemtrails, polluted air. But the day we step aside, their pyramid will collapse. Here is a little teaser for my next video about the real control masters. Thanks for watching. Let's take a look at the behavior of the Romans. Is there a mammal that is acting in the same way? Have you ever seen one wolf leading thousands of wolves and attacking some territory? Or a king rat? A gigantic bear leading his troops into enemy territory? I don't think so. The only place I see this kind of behavior is in the insect world. The black ants attacking the red ants, slaying their enemy, looting their nests, bringing back the spoils of war to their queen, exterminating without mercy their enemies. So I thought, let's think insect and observe humanity and history. But when you look at Egypt, it starts getting creepier. I was thinking insect, and suddenly I started seeing cocoons. The crozier, a larva in a cocoon, an underground nest, the mummy wrapped in silk, the Egyptians were making themselves ready to go to the afterlife. But why are they imitating the birth of an insect? On the sarcophagus you see the image of the winged Isis. Everybody sees them as the wings of a bird. I would make them wings of an insect. Isis, Ishtar, Asherah, the queen of the hive. Let's look again at the cone-headed praying mantis. Isis and Madonna on the Super Bowl. Let's take a look at the ceremony. Madonna arriving with her Greek-Roman insect army. Waving palm tree leaves? No, let's make them insect wings. Sitting on the throne like the queen of the hive. Making ritual moves. So, let's take a look again at the Egyptian image of Isis. Let's take a look again at the sun between the horns. What would that mean? The adoration of the sun. To understand this, I will take this video to another level. I will explain why humanity suddenly started behaving like an insect. Let's have a look in nature if there is a case by which we can explain our strange behavior. Let's watch a short video.
Wasps are often characterized as aggressive and an insect to fear. A recent study reinforces this general perception by exposing them as master manipulators. Researchers in Japan learned that when it comes to the task of wasps nurturing their young, they make another insect do it. Spiders appear to be the preferred caretakers, and to get them to perform the task in a satisfactory fashion, wasps employ the power of mind control. When it's time for a wasp to release its eggs, it will do so on an arachnid's back. In addition to being saddled with the responsibility of hatching the larvae, the spider is injected with a substance that makes it do the wasp's bidding. That involves building the offspring a comfortable home. The preferred nursery is what's called a resting web, the sort of denizen a spider spins for itself when it's molting and doesn't want to be bothered by incoming food. Further, when the newborns get hungry, it uses the host as a nutrition source, feeding on it until it's sucked it dry.
So, the spider normally makes this kind of web. Now it's making this kind of web. The wasp's consciousness has taken over the consciousness of the spider, and now it is using the body of the spider to make a web of its own. Let's take a look at our behavior. We are hunter-gatherers and live in the forest. That provides us of everything we need. Then something happens. Suddenly, like the spider, we start destroying our habitat and start creating a completely new environment. We start living in cells. We start making strange buildings. Wiring the whole planet. The World Wide Web. Creating the weirdest machines. How is this possible? let's go back to the bigger Earth in the plasma ball. Think of it as a cell, a nucleolus and a membrane, floating in an unknown substance. In the core of the planet is a black substance, an intelligent liquid, responsible for the script of the planet. Maybe you came across the story of black goo, but I will call it, in comparison with the computer, the BIOS code, the consciousness of our Earth. How does an acorn know it has to become a tree? How does a child know at birth it has to breathe? Think of it as a Wi-Fi connection with the BIOS code of the planet. So, at a certain moment, a cell decides to parasite on the cell of our Earth. It attaches to our cell. Then it drills a hole through the membrane. That would make of our Sun the connection point between the two cells. Now the invasive cell will try to take over the consciousness of the attacked cell. How will it do that? Well, it will shoot some BIOS code of its own onto Earth. Now we have a big problem, because now we have two conflicting codes, and the invasive code will try to destroy the local one. Now let's go back to the beginning of the Egyptian culture. The most important temple in Heliopolis was the mansion of the Benben, also known as the Mansion of the Phoenix. In the middle of the temple, in an open courtyard, stood an obelisk, on top of which sat the Benben stone. This was a black conical stone that looked like a small pyramid. Throughout the ages, the original Benben was copied in different forms. According to the Egyptians, the stone literally fell from the sky. The Benben stone was seen as the solidified seed of Atum, the stone of creation. It was on this stone that the phoenix, or Bennu bird, would return every 12,594 years and place its new egg. At that moment, a new era of mankind was started. The Bennu bird came from the Isle of Fire, the mythical place where the gods were born. So, let's go back to this picture of the two cells uniting, the Vesica Pisces. Throughout history, this image was used for the iconography of the female genitals. The cosmic vagina, the Virgin Mary. Why the Virgin? Because there was no sexual act. A piece of itself, the Benben stone, was shot into the atmosphere. Next, the Benben stone was called the seed of Atum and put on an obelisk. Now you have the phallus symbol. Next, you put the phallus symbol in the Vesica Pisces and aim it at the sun. So, we are invaded on planetary level, but sadly enough, we are also invaded in our consciousness. In our mind, there was only one voice, the voice of planet Earth. Everything that happened was in favor of the growth of our planet. Organic life was flourishing. But suddenly, another voice pops up in our head. Suddenly, we have duality, good and bad. An evil eye has woken up inside our head. The only purpose of that voice is to kill all organic life. Suddenly, we think of suicide. Suddenly, we think of killing our neighbor for no reason at all. Now, we start destroying all life on our planet. The parasite is mimicking our internal voice and is pretending to be us. That way, it is hiding from our awareness. How do we get rid of this parasite? Let me tell you the story of Ramana Maharshi. In the summer of 1896, Ramana went into an altered state of consciousness, which had a profound effect on him. He experienced what he understood to be his own death, and later returned to life. So, Ramana experienced his own death. I think he experienced the death of the parasite. From that moment, he was in a state of unselfishness. Ramana advised the method of inquiry into the nature of the self by asking the question, "Who am I?" He wants you to ask the question, "Who am I?" I being the ego. That way, he asks the parasite, "Who are you?" thereby exposing it and making it to leave. Because of universal law, the parasite needs our consent to stay here. Therefore, it has to lie to us all the time. The moment you see it, the parasite is out. Okay, let's look for the parasite. Not here. Not here. Of course, you will not see the parasite, because it is behind the camera, filming. Okay, so there are two observers watching through the camera. The silent one and the one who is constantly talking. As we are born without a language in our head, the observer who is talking must be the parasite. Now, the silent one can observe the noisy one. So we die. Now we got rid of it all, we think. Oops. We got sucked into the tunnel of white light. A winged being is waiting for us. An angel, God, Saint Peter. Funny how all those gods are winged. If I'm correct, this white tunnel is the corridor into the consciousness of the insect cell. The angels are the gatekeepers of the parasite's world, keeping us out. We have to stay in purgatory. No, you are not coming into heaven. You have to go back to earth, because you made some mistakes. You have to reincarnate again. You people are bad. You are sinners. You are destroying your own world. You have to return time and time again. Okay, let's return to the Ben stone and see what Stanley Kubrick has to say about it. Let's return to Egypt for the birth of the Illuminati. Pharaoh Akhenaten decides to get rid of the multiple gods of Egypt and installs the worship of the solar disk, Atum, introducing the first monotheistic religion. The Illuminati are those who are illuminated by the sun. But the priests revolted and Akhenaten was expelled from Egypt together with his followers. I think Moses was Akhenaten and he took the stone with him. Here begins the story of the spreading of the infection. You can follow the trail of bloodshed throughout history, arriving in Israel, installing the sun cult.
Solomon's temple. We're told about King Solomon's temple. Incidentally, there was no King Solomon. So don't look for King Solomon in history because there was no King Solomon. It's the word Sol, Om, On. S-O-L is the sun in Latin. In Latin, the word sun is S-O-L, Sol. And in the Hindu priest of the sun, they call the sun Om. Remember the priest of Om? They chant Om. And On is the city of the sun. The Greeks call it Heliopolis. It's called Heliopolis to this day. But the Egyptians, Helios, Heliopolis. Heliopolis means the city of the sun. The city of the sun, Heliopolis in Greek, was originally called in the Egyptian On. Look it up in any dictionary.
Arriving in Lebanon, Phoenicians, the Greeks, the Romans. Who was Jesus? Well, I think Jesus was an early Illuminati fighter who saw the danger of the sun cult in Rome. He attacked the banksters, but that might not have been a good idea, because he was betrayed, heavily tortured and crucified. But the Illuminati played a very clever trick. They assimilated him into the sun cult. They invented the story of the resurrection of Christ, like the phoenix. They gave him 12 apostles, like the 12 sun gods of Mount Olympus. They gave him an aura, the sun. They made him a tranny, let him give the sign of Baphomet, welcoming the phoenix. Are you sure you are worshipping the original Jesus? The infection is spreading to Europe. Europeans are colonizing the world. Britain is ruling the waves. The infection in America and Russia.
be back.
Okay, let's recapitulate. A parasitic cell is attaching to our cell. The parasitic cell is shooting some solidified consciousness into our cell. This consciousness is infecting people on our Earth. They are now playing the agenda of the parasite. It is communicating through channeling, and it is pumping its technology into Earth. The parasite is an insect with a hive mind. It is presenting itself in many forms, mainly bird-like, because in this form it is recognizable for organic life forms. When the collective consciousness will collapse, the parasite will take over. Therefore, the invader has to traumatize people. So they will finally give in and accept the arrival of the entity. The Illuminati think when their entity will return, they will be sitting on the right hand of their lord. What a joke! They will be eaten like all the rest of us. We live or die together. For thousands of years now, they are trying to pull in their entity. But it will not work. Because as long as even one person is resisting, they cannot enter. And I can assure you, I am not going to give in. And I hope you don't. So here is a little exercise for your subconscious mind.